So this week I started House of Chains, which is book 4 in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. And as I've mentioned before, this is definitely one of my favorite fantasy series I've ever read. And this will be the first time I'm doing a video like this. Essentially, the idea is I just want to check in midway through my read and see how I'm currently feeling about the book. And then when I finally finish and do a proper review, I'll be able to look back and see how my perspective on the book has changed over time. I think it'll be fun to watch my thought process develop. And also sometimes I have certain thoughts about the book as I'm reading it that aren't as strong to me once I finish the full thing. And there's so many little details packed in these Malazan books. It always takes such a long time to process it after the fact. So instead, I'm going to kind of react as I'm reading it. I think that'll give maybe a fresh perspective. So when this book starts, it's pretty clear that Steven Erikson is taking has a slightly different style this time around. In the previous 3 Malazan books, we switch our point of view many times per book, maybe dozens, if not hundreds of times does the perspective change from one character to another. And often we're on different continents and different cities, different planes of existence, different warrens, and it can be extremely confusing to follow. But this is the first time where we've stuck with a perspective for several hundred pages. I'm 180 pages in right now, and it's been with the same main character the whole way, Karsa Orlong. Again, forgive me on pronunciations, but I'm going to do my best. Yeah, we've been following this main character the whole time, and it's like the farther and farther we go with it, the more I'm like, damn, I kind of like this style from Erikson. It's nice to stick with one person for a significant length of time. And I'm itching for that perspective change a little bit. I'm ready to see another character, maybe a character I've already read. But I think that's what Erikson's doing. It's like he's teasing us with this new character, being like, look, this story's fun, but I'm not going to give you these other characters that you know and love until you get farther along in the book, because clearly there's something very important going on with this Karsa main character. And I'm not entirely sure what it is yet, but I have some theories. And I think that's what Erikson's doing. He's leading us along, being like, hey, I'm going to jam all of this lore and information down your throat. You got to eat your vegetables before you get to the dessert, which is the characters you already enjoy. What are some other things to note? I think another thing I really liked about the way this book has started, when the book kicks off, the writing style feels more archaic, or it feels like we're in a vision. He's done this before in the other books. The first time we see Krupp and the 𝒁💻 in a vision together with the maybe in the, I think that scene's in Deadhouse Gates, but I'm getting a similar vibe this time around from the start of the book. He's starting to explain who the Teblor are, who the tribe of the 𝒂💏are, the Sunid, the Rothid. Up until now, there might have been mentions of the 𝒂💏 and the Sunid and the Teblor in general, but for me, I think this is the first time I'm processing that these are like a new race of people in the Malazan world. For one thing, I was surprised. I was like, okay, so there's another super powerful race of people who can heal themselves and seem to live for a long period of time. I wasn't sure if this was like a deep dive on history. Like, is this the 𝒂💏 at another point in time, or is this the 𝒁💻 at another point in time? Now I don't think that any longer. Like, when the book started, I wasn't sure if we were getting more backstory, but I took a look at the dates and I was like, okay, this can't be too far in the past. So the farther along the more and more I've read of the book, I'm like, okay, no, the Teblor are this other race of people who are definitely very powerful, clearly more powerful than humans, that's for sure. I like the way that the Teblor refer to the humans. They called them children. So it's like the first time a human enters the story, it's referred to as a child. You're like, okay, I'm confused. This is a child or whatever. But then the human starts, doing adult things or fighting back. I forget how that happens, but it becomes very clear. It's like, no, this is just a child to the 𝒂💏 or the Teblor. So yeah, I think Erikson has a reason why we're sticking with this character for so long. And I'm just curious how that's going to net out. Where I left off in the book currently, around page 180, Karsa has been strapped to the bottom of a wagon and has now been put onto some sort of ship. And it seems like the Malazans they've captured him and they're going to ship him off to the 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒏, how do you pronounce that? 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒏 mines? Malazan? Hold on. 𝒂𝒊𝒏. Adderall. Adderall mines. The Adderall mines. So anyway, Karsa is being shipped off to the Adderall mines, which we've seen previously in the books. And this is like a prison work camp that the Malazans send their prisoners or criminals to. And yeah, I assume at some point Karsa is going to escape, but we'll see what happens. I remember specifically Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews, little plug. That guy's got a great book review channel. But I remember when he was talking about this book, he mentions that we spend about 400 pages in this one perspective at the beginning of the book. So that gives a lot more time with this character, and I assume there's going to be a bunch more that happens. I'm curious about it. I think what is going to happen is that we're going to spend more time with Karsa, obviously, another 200 pages or so. This is essentially like his origin story. He's going to, at some point farther down the line in the Malazan books, I think he's going to do something really important, and everything he's going through right now is going to be the cause of whatever he ends up doing. I could be totally wrong about that, but that's just how it feels at the moment. We've also got one new character, Torvald Nam, who is a bandit that Karsa kind of befriends in the first town that he comes across. Karsa gets captured after slaughtering a bunch of humans in this town. They capture him, they put him in like a slave pit essentially, and then Karsa befriends Torvald Nam, and Nam has some sort of relation to Daryujistan, the city, and I believe there's a character called Ralik Nam, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of connection between the two of them, and maybe we'll see that happen down the line as well. I'm trying to think about how to react to the beginning of this book, because it really did. I feel like it sets such a good tone for the rest of the book. I think I started talking about this and maybe went on a tangent, but the way that Erikson starts the prose in this kind of like archaic, it feels like you're in a vision at the beginning of the book. And then slowly, as you follow Karsa, he gets blessed by his god, Urugal, who is one of the 7 gods that they worship. But apparently they're not gods or something. That's mentioned somewhere at the beginning of the book. They're maybe their ascendants. I don't know. It's not entirely clear. But Urugal has clearly blessed Karsa in one way or another. And then Karsa and Bareth and Delim, they leave their town and they go, they're supposed to go on this adventure to kill tons of humans because they want to bring glory to their land. They're also going to kill Sunid and Rathid and these other Teblor tribes, because I guess the only way to gain glory in this world is to just kill and rape people. There's also a lot of rape at the beginning of the book, which was like really unpleasant to read. And I was like, damn, Erikson, you're coming out the gate really heavy with this, but okay, I'm with you. It makes Karsa a really hard character to like. But I think that's just kind of like the whole Malazan series, is like all of these characters are, just terrible people, but in one way or another, you end up rooting for them. I don't get how Erikson makes me feel that way, but he does. Because I can't deny that, like, when Karsa gets captured at that town, I don't know. Part of me was like, I hope this motherfucker gets out and starts killing a bunch of humans, because that's what he wanted to do. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, as Karsa, Bareth, and Delim get farther away from their town, it's almost like the book starts to change writing styles a little bit, and it becomes closer to the way it felt in Memories of Ice, where it's more conversational and there's more talking between the characters instead of like this elaborate description of this mystical land that they're in. Once they get to this town and Karsa and Bareth and the dogs all assault the town, all of a sudden the book kind of like flips back over to how it felt in the last book. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but I just noticed this distinct change in the writing over time. And it wasn't like, it wasn't abrupt or anything. It's just a slow. The beginning is this very hard to read, dense prose, and then it slowly becomes more fluid as you get used to these characters. One of the other things I wanted to note is this demon character that they release about 120 pages or something into the book. Karsa, Bareth, and Delim are traveling through the mountains, and they come across this tomb, and the tomb has this creature stuck inside of it, and there's clearly magic holding the demon inside of it, but it's not really clear, like, it's not clear what kind of magic this is or what's trapped underneath it. But for some reason, they decide to lift the lid of this tomb and let it out. I think Karsa describes it as a calling of some kind, if I remember correctly. So they lift the lid of this tomb, and the demon gets out, and turns out it's a demon called a 𝒂💂💏💂💏. The Malazan wiki is coming in. I don't want to. The only thing is, whenever I check the Malazan wiki, I'm like, am I about to spoil something crazy for myself? 𝒂💂💏💂💏. Okay. I can't read any more than what I just read because I feel like I spoiled something. But yes, so the demon is a 𝒂💂💏💂💏. The demon attacks Karsa, beats the shit out of him. 𝒊𝒏 tries to interfere and ends up getting 4 fingers stuck into his skull, which makes him mentally handicapped for the rest of the book, or for the rest of the time at least that I've read. And then it just goes off and disappears. It says a couple lines about how it's supposed to like bring peace to the land or something, but then Karsa seems to realize that like when it says it's going to bring peace to the land, it just means it's going to kill everybody because that'll bring peace. I was like, okay, Jesus, do we need another like elder creature that it just wants to destroy the world? I don't know if this world needs another creature, but we found one. So okay, now not only do we have the Jagu, the Talanamas, Animander Rake, etc., etc. Now we have this other thing that's unleashed into the world. Okay, great. So yeah, obviously that's going to come around again. I don't even know if we'll see it in this book, but I'm guessing we do at some point. If not this book, you know, it'll obviously be in the other books at some point. Erikson never just includes anything randomly. It always finds a way to weave itself back into the story at some point. So I guess one thing I'm wondering moving forward is if Karsa is going to learn to work with the humans at some point. Like maybe Karsa goes, instead of going back and trying to slaughter all of the humans once he escapes his imprisonment, maybe he finds a reason to go back to his tribes and unite them under one banner. And then all of a sudden this becomes like another really strong ally that either the Malazans or some other group can call on in the battles to come. I kind of think that's what's going to happen. But then the other option is that he escapes and then just continues to keep like butchering people mindlessly. So I guess we're going to see what happens. Yeah, I'm just super hyped about where the book is currently and how it's all being set up. And I felt like I would miss a lot of this stuff if I tried to do the whole review at one time. So yeah, I'll probably end up making a couple more of these videos as I get through the whole book. It's a chunky one. It's 1,025 pages, so there's definitely going to be tons of moments to react to along the way. And yeah, I mean, if you like this kind of review where I'm just kind of reviewing as I go, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And yeah, if you like the video, drop me a like down below, and I'll see you in the next video.